For my Japanese project this year, I wanted to be able to get to like an intermediate level of Japanese by the end of the year, because at the beginning of the year I was so excited about learning Japanese because I'd kind of looked up a little bit of like what the resources were, and they all looked really interesting, and I was so excited to learn Japanese. So I even started the project even before the year started, because I was just so ready to go to learn all of the hiragana and katakana and the writing and stuff and everything. And I just was so excited. Unfortunately, life got in the way, and lots of other projects got in the way, and I kind of fizzled out towards the middle of the year, but I've gotten back on the bandwagon and am working through getting caught up back to where I was and getting way better at Japanese. In this video, I'm going to explain to you all of the different resources I used to learn Japanese, and what I thought about them, how they worked. And I'm probably going to explain to you a bit of Japanese, at least some of the writing systems, because I'm a total nerd about them and I love the Japanese writing system, even though it's so complicated and awful. That's what makes it fun. So yeah. So in the Japanese writing system, there are 3 different sets of characters that you have to use. There's hiragana, katakana, and kanji. So hiragana, I have a lot of things written on this page, but hiragana is what I have written about here, kind of in this corner in the brown. Hiragana is basically the basic phonetic spelling of things. So each of these characters represent a syllable. So it's there's a and nu and ki and ko and tsu and lots of other fancy stuff. So they each represent a syllable. And you could write out anything in Japanese phonetically like that. Here I have some examples of katakana, which is fairly similar to hiragana, but it's used for foreign loan words. Most of these are English, but not all of them. And it's a little bit different looking than hiragana, but there are a lot of characters that look pretty similar. Since it's pretty much only used for foreign loan words, you don't see it all the time. You mostly will see it on billboards and advertisements in Japan. That's where you're gonna see katakana the most commonly. And sometimes people even use katakana for Japanese words too, just because it's kind of makes it look cool and stand out. To learn both of those, I use the website Tofugu and their system of mnemonics to help you remember each of the characters. And I learned both hiragana and katakana in about a week, which sounds really crazy, but I was very, very excited about learning it, and I just practiced them non-stop and got them in my head. I'm still kind of at writing them, because I didn't really focus on handwriting, but now I kind of want to do that because I do really love how the Japanese language looks, so I want to be able to write it in journals and stuff. But I'm very good at identifying them and pronouncing them. I took a whole course on pronunciation through edX. I wasn't very good on this course. It was through Waseda University, and it was all about weird things with Japanese pronunciation. Japanese pronunciation is fairly straightforward most of the time, but there are a few quirks that they wanted to talk about in the class. The class kind of assumed you already knew the basics. It was definitely a super challenging class. It was definitely college level, and expected you to know more Japanese than I did and spend more time on it than I did. There wasn't that much homework, it's just there was so much course material for you to go over, and I felt I really wanted to go in depth on all of the things I was learning and make sure I committed to memory all of the things that I was learning in the class. But but in class the pace was too fast for me to be able to like get that in-depth knowledge on all of those things. I didn't really do very well in the class. I think I like flunked out technically by the end, even though like I looked at most of the material. I think, or at least I would have gotten a really low grade if I was like thinking about that. I don't think I sent in enough assignments. Whatever. It was just a random edX course, so it wasn't super serious. It definitely made me think, oh, in the future when I go to college, I should definitely do offline courses, because I think I will probably be able to stick myself more to the standards to like be on the deadline, because there's people who you can see grading you. Next thing I'm going to talk about is the big elephant in the room, which is kanji. Ooh, kanji is basically most Japanese learners' worst nightmare. They are actually Chinese characters that the Japanese stole and put into their language and kind of edited and made them pronounce differently so that they fit with Japanese. So most normal Japanese is written with a mix of hiragana, kanji, and katakana. It's more common to have like hiragana and kanji than it is to have katakana. There's kanji everywhere, so you have to learn kanji. As annoying as it is to learn like 2,000 kanji, which is how many kanji I think like a Japanese high school student is supposed to know, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, it's definitely stressful to learn and memorize all of these weird looking characters that are so foreign, and there are a lot of methods that people have competing on how you should learn kanji. There's tons of different things. I looked at all of the methods, and there was a lot of ones that seemed cool. I think the one that appealed to me the most was Wanikani, which is like a website that they teach you like using mnemonics and radicals, which I will explain to you after this. They use those to kind of teach you both the kanji but also like vocabulary and in context. It teaches you a ton of things. It teaches you so much. But the thing is, it costs like $100 a year, which I don't have. So instead, I got Remembering the Kanji. And actually, before, I got this from the library, from interlibrary loan in the fall. And I got quite a bit through it, probably like 11 lessons, I think, which is really, really amazing for 3 weeks. I was working every day on this. I probably learned almost 300 kanji in 3 weeks. Not super duper well, because I didn't really retain that knowledge, because I took a bit of a break from Japanese when I was doing my Romeo and Juliet play, because I had such a big role. I got really kind of off on it and forgot most of the kanji besides probably like the first 2 lessons. I remembered the first 2 lessons of kanji really well still. And a lot of like some of the kanji that you would see more in typical Japanese vocabulary. How this book, Remembering the Kanji, teaches you is not actually based on how common the kanji are in your vocabulary, or like what a young child learns, because in Japan, a lot of the kanji young children learn are really complicated and hard to remember. Like a lot of the kanji for common words are really difficult. So this book goes through, kind of like starts you off simply and teaches you all of like the basic kanji and kanji radicals, which are like they're different like bits of kanji symbols that mean different things. So like, for instance, there's like a little like fiery thing that like represents fire. And if you see that in a kanji, then you kind of know maybe that thing will be a little bit related to fire. Sometimes it totally isn't, and you have to make up a way to remind yourself that it is about fire. So I'm going to explain some kanji to you using the Heisig method. So our first kanji here is the kanji for a village. And these kanji can be pronounced different ways depending on which word you're using them in. This, I guess, would typically, when it's just meaning village, it would mean like machi, is how it's pronounced. So this right here is the primitive radical. Primitive or radical, they're kind of like the same meaning. It's the symbol for a rice field, and you can see it kind of looks like a rice field because they're originally pictographs. And then here is the pictograph for sign. This is the radical for sign. So you could imagine, let's say we have a rice field here and a sign, and you see, oh, there's a sign next to a rice field, like the sign would say it's a town. So that's the way you use to remember that character. And then, here we have one that looks a little more complicated, and it is, but I'll simplify it for you. So this is the kanji for a stream, and this is the kanji radical for a head. And when you say there's a stream and there's a head, this kanji means obey. So you would say, oh, well, someone, who obeys everything, they feel like they just have a stream going into their head, like, telling them everything. So, the book will, have all these stories in it. And then this one here is pressure, and the part over it, the little thing going over the bottom thing, is the radical for cliff, and then the one under there is the radical for soil. And so you'd think, oh, well, soil under a cliff has a lot of pressure on it. And then this one is the kanji for stream, and up here is the radical for white, and this is the radical for water. If you combine those two, you see okay, well, when water is springing up, it kind of looks like white. So you'd imagine a white spring, and it kind of feels like it almost looks like a spring to me. I don't know, like something's coming out of this water. And so that's kind of ways you remember kanji. So yeah, and a lot of these can get way more complicated, but that's a basic explanation. So you just kind of memorize all of the little bits, and then you put them together, and that's how you remember the kanji. Well, I have done so much kanji practice. I've been working on getting my handwriting good, because the first time I did my kanji practice, I didn't care that much about handwriting, but I've realized that the handwriting also makes you way better at memorizing things. I have so many pages of kanji. Look at all of these. Oh, there's even more. They're everywhere. So now I will bring you over here to my computer to Kanji Kuhi, which is an amazing website that is basically acts as a supplement to remembering the kanji. You can go in here, and this is where you study kanji. So here's one. So I see the child's arms are flailed around at the side of a hook that the dentist is going to use to fit his cavity, because this is the one for child and this is the one for hook. So if you look down here, people have all sorts of stories they have written down. So you can use them if if you don't find the story in the book very memorable. You can use one of the ones on here. So whenever I have a story in the book that just doesn't fit with me, I'll either use one of the ones on here or I'll make up my own story. If you want to work on reviewing kanji, this is a spaced repetition system. So basically whenever you're about to forget, when it tracks your how people forget things. And whenever, it thinks you're about to forget a kanji, they have you review it again. So it'll say the key word for the kanji, what it means. So that one means esteem, and I know what this looks like. So I will write down on my piece of paper what I think it looks like, and I know this one is, it's something to do with Little Red Riding Hood. I forgot. See, so then you can also, if I have trouble, I'll click S, which opens up the story, and it shows you what my thing is. So, Little Hood Mouth. Oh, yes. So, oh yeah, I have little on the top. yeah, I just remembered one of the primitives. So this is the kanji for it, and I kind of knew that. I don't know, I forgot a few things. And then you write down here, you know, how easy it was to remember if you didn't remember it. And then you kind of can keep going. You can say, no, I didn't remember that. And you can look up trunk. And what is trunk again? Oh, yes. Trunk is the one with the moon and the monk. Yeah, this is what it looks like. So you can kind of remember that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Another thing I've been using for Japanese lately, more recently, is this book, Ultimate Japanese, which I got from the library. Most of the book is not actually written in hiragana or kanji, so I guess, you know, it makes you less able to memorize those things, but it also makes it kind of fast and easy to learn all of the stuff, and you don't have to think about it as much. So, I don't know, my favorite part of it is the sample conversations because they're really long. I know I've been using also the Genki textbooks, and they have good sample conversations, but they're very, very short. And they kind of are a little bit nervous about throwing you into things without totally explaining it. Like, here's a cool dialogue I can read for you. Sumisu-san wa kyou kimasu ka? 昨日大阪の本社へ行きました。だから今日ここへ来ます。スミスさんの友達も一緒に来ます。スミスさんの友達もアメリカ人ですか？いえ、アメリカ人じゃありません。フランス人です。名前はモロさんです。ああ、そうですか。モロさんの旅行のも出張旅行ですか？いえ、多分観光旅行です。今日みんなで晩ご飯を食べませんか？いいですね。銀座で日本料理を食べましょうか？はい、どうぞ。あ、スミスさんとモロさん、いらっしゃい。Japanese grammar is so different than English that it's kind of like weird to translate because you can translate things like a lot of little different ways. Yeah, that book is for learning like grammar and stuff. It's obviously basic, but it's nice to have a little book like that. And I've also been using like Genki stuff on my computer, and that's helpful. And also take Kim's Japanese lessons online. My problem with grammar is that I can't really decide on one place to get my grammar knowledge from, and even my vocabulary knowledge. It's definitely super overwhelming to like pick from all of these different competing teaching things, and I like how most of them work, so like I can't decide. I need to just pick one. Here is some things I wrote in this Japanese journal. If you can see a little bit, these are based on Genki. These are like Genki practice exercises. And I wrote them down. There's stuff like Ima nanji desu ka, which is like asking what time it is. And then it'll like say a time, and then I have to say that time in Japanese. And there's also like some stuff I did for Ultimate Japanese. They have some exercises. I wrote them down. For a while, I used Memrise a bit for my vocab, which is like an online thing, kind of like Duolingo, but not as good. And it was alright. They're definitely very, very formal in the language that they teach you. To cap this off, I'm going to show you Anki. It's another thing I used. And it's basically a flashcard thing, similar to those kanji flashcards that I have on Kanji Kuhi. This is my flashcard deck for vocabulary. So like this is Ohayo gozaimasu. And then I would say, good morning. And I say, well, I did, that was easy. You all, wait, anata gata. So then I see, oh, there's anatagata. And this one helps me with kanji too, in the context of my vocabulary, because I always do stuff with kanji, even if I don't know how to write those kanji, just so I can get them in my head. To come, kimasu. Yep, kimasu. Sensei. That one's obvious. Yeah. So that's about it for Anki. Okay, so I know that a big part of Japanese is, and any language, is talking to native speakers. And I know that the way to do this is an online language exchange if you have a hard time finding people who live near you who speak the language that you're planning to learn. I know that I needed to get a language exchange partner on like italki or something. And I tried really hard with someone, and we like got on to figure out Skype, but like the time zones were so confusing and it didn't really work out for us to actually do it, although I got some good practice like formulating Japanese sentences and talking to people like over chat, so that was a good experience. But it was so nerve-wracking. How language exchanges work is you're supposed to talk with them. You talk about 30 minutes in the language that you want to learn, and then they talk in 40 minutes for the language that they want to learn. 30 minutes, sorry. They talk in the language they want to learn, which is the language you speak. So like if they want to learn English, I talk to them. And then I want to learn Japanese, so I talk to the Japanese person. 30 minutes is crazy. I have no idea how I would do that. And I know I'm going to have to do it eventually, have to do language exchange. But it's like, whoa! But I feel like I have a really good grasp of like writing, and I do know quite a bit of vocabulary. My grammar is all right. I mean, I sort of know the basics. I still get really confused about the ni particle and like I forget little things. But I'm still very beginner level, and I was wanting to be intermediate level. And I think if I did continue being as passionate as I was at the beginning of the year, I definitely would be at intermediate level now if I didn't, take a big break. On kanji, I never actually said how many I know. I feel like I am pretty good and know about 200 kanji pretty well. So that is a big accomplishment to know 200 kanji. Whoa! You're supposed to learn like 2,000. I'm like a good part of the way there. I hope you liked this video. Arigatou gozaimasu. じゃあまたね